Hello and welcome to Camping Corner. Today we're going to talk about the Preakness Stakes. It's the second leg of the Triple Crown, and it's on Saturday at Pimlico. And I'm sorry this is coming out late in the week. I haven't had as much time to work on these videos. It is what it is, but I'm working on it right now. And I'm going to use Timeform US just as a change of pace. I've always appreciated the color coding that goes into Timeform US. And so let's start off by talking about the favorite journalism, and then I'll present some alternatives. I have no major knocks against journalism other than the short price. We can take a look at his Kentucky Derby effort and see how he finished up second to Sovereignty. We see journalism in the lead, but Sovereignty's right next to him. And as we've seen, Sovereignty's going to outkick journalism to the wire, and journalism is going to get a little tired towards the end. Baeza almost catches him for second. I have no problem with that. Baeza's a good horse, Sovereignty is a good horse, and journalism ran a good race. He just got beat by a good horse. And the only problem I have, as I said, is the price. I would prefer to take longer prices in this race because I'm playing the Black Eyed Susan Preakness double, and I'm taking a short price in that race with Margie's Intention, so I would prefer to take some shots in this race with longer prices. And Goal Oriented is 6-1, American Promise 15-1. We're going to talk about those two horses, but I'm not saying journalism can't win. Obviously not. He has the best chance in this race, and if they were all the same odds, I would take him. But I don't think he's invincible. Let's talk about Goal Oriented. The speed figures might look light on Goal Oriented. On Timeform US, he only has a 112, and on Beyer, he only has a 91. And those are roughly the same figure if you account for the scale differences. But I liked his optional claiming win on Derby Day, and we're going to take a look at that race. Surprisingly, it's on YouTube. Here we go with the Derby Day optional claimer. We see Goal Oriented on the lead, and Bracket Buster, Yinzer, and Tissecure are nearby. And I think there was something difficult about the pace, even though the fractions say it wasn't a fast pace. You saw the 47:15 half mile. One would think that's not a fast fraction for a mile 1/16th. But there's something difficult about it because Bracket Buster is struggling on the inside, and Yinzer already quit. Yinzer's ready towards the back of the pack. And the only reason that Tissecure in the middle, the only reason he hung around, I think, is because he's a good Baffert horse. And you see Hypnus almost catches Goal Oriented, but Goal Oriented finds more. And I think that Hypnus took advantage of the pace. Even though the fractions don't say it's a fast pace, there's something difficult about it. Otherwise, Hypnus wouldn't be that close to a good Baffert horse like Goal Oriented. We know that Hypnus struggled throughout the Derby season to compete on the Derby trail, and here he was almost catching a good Baffert horse, and I think the only reason he could have done that was because it was a fast pace, or something was difficult about it. Maybe the ground was slow, and Goal Oriented won by 3/4 of a length, but I think the gap between Goal Oriented and Hypnus is much wider. And I'm going to pick Goal Oriented. I think Baffert is going to want him on the lead, especially from the rail. And I know his pace figures for that race weren't that fast. 122, 118. Those are not fast pace figures on Timeform US. They're on the fast side, but not fast. But I believe Baffert will train him in the right way. And he's just going to instruct Flavien Prat to go to the lead. And we're going to see more speed out of Goal Oriented. And we're going to see if he can last with the pressure of American Promise on him. Let's talk about American Promise as well. American Promise was part of the early Kentucky Derby pace, and I've explained before that there's no such thing as a slow Derby. It's either moderately fast, or suicidal, and we see that American Promise put up a 149 on Timeform US for the first pace figure, and then 139, and no wonder he got tired towards the end. And he was only ahead off the lead at one point. We're going to watch the race. We see American Promise in third. He's right behind Citizen Bull and Neo Equos. Owen Almighty's on the outside. And we see American Promise is trying to move up here. 46:23 is not thought of as a fast half mile. But this is a mile 1/4. The track is wet. And I believe there was something slow about the track. And American Promise tried to make that move. And now he's tired. And understandably so. I pointed out the pace figure 149. That's a fast pace figure on Timeform US. And the Derby pace is just cruel to most of the horses on the front end. Unless you're a very, very good horse. It's hard to withstand that kind of pace, and we see American Promise is engulfed, and he's somewhere in the back. He does have the white blinkers, so it's still easy to see him, but he's way back there, and I could forgive it. 16th in the Derby, it's not ideal, but it's not something that disqualifies a horse from contending in the Preakness. We saw Louis Quatorze in 1996. He was 16th in the Kentucky Derby, and then he won the Preakness. And I think the pace is just so fast in the Kentucky Derby that many horses have a running line that looks like it's really ugly, but it's not, it's not really their form. And I think American Promise has talent. He just needs the right kind of trip and not a suicidal or super fast pace. I think if the pace is reasonable, he could contend in this race. So he's my second choice, and he will be on my ticket. I want to go over some other horses briefly, starting with River Thames. He was third in the Bluegrass Stakes, but I'm not convinced he wants to go a mile and 3/16. If he watched the Bluegrass, he was tired towards the end, and Burnham Square did outkick him from the outside, and I just didn't get the feeling there was anything more. I think 9 furlongs is probably his limit. He doesn't have the best pedigree for going longer, and I'm just going to pass on him. As for Sandman, I showed this before on the Derby recap, but he was purchased in the same spot as Final Gambit on the far turn, and that he didn't have much after that. Final Gambit actually made a run towards the leaders to finish 4th, and this horse just weakly passed horses and finished 7th by 12 lengths, and so he was well back, and I was disappointed. He had the pace in front of him, and there's no excuse for him not to finish closer, at least where Final Gambit was, and instead he just weakly passed tired horses for 7th, and I just wasn't that impressed. I'm going to pass on him. Clever Again won the Hot Springs at Oaklawn by 4 over Gaming, who was another Baffert horse, but I don't know if this colt has enough seasoning yet to compete in a race like this, and he only had a 1:13 on Timeform US, so I don't know if his figure is good enough, although maybe his figure looks better on Beyer or Brace, but I don't trust him yet, and I'm just going to pass on Clever Again. Gosker is the last one to talk about, and I love his breeding. Nyquist out of Gloria S., who is a half-sister to I'll Have Another, the 2012 Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner, and I don't know if he's there yet at this level. I need to see more. He only had a 1:11 for that Lexington Stakes win. He won by 2 lengths over Bracket Buster, who goal-oriented pummeled in that optional claimer. I think Bracket Buster lost by 10 lengths to goal-oriented, and I know the distance will favor Gosker, but I still think he needs more experience, and I'm just going to pass on him. Goal-oriented is my pick for the Preakness Stakes, but I'm also going to use American Promise, and I think some people need to use journalism as well, especially if you're playing a pick 4 or longer multi-race wager. Journalism has to be factored in there somewhere. But goal-oriented is my top pick. Good luck this weekend, and I'll see you guys soon, maybe with a Preakness recap.